What's cracking, traders? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon GO Battle League content. In today's video, we're not going to be looking at the next hot meta core team, new meta Pokemon, anything like that. Today, we're going to be taking a step back and remembering that the Ultra League is not exactly the most accessible league, and so I've given a challenge to myself. I do this every season, but usually I'm not even successful because I have a certain standard that I want to be able to put the teams up to that aren't just going to like lose to half the meta, right? Because that's unfortunately been the way that the non-XL teams have felt for me over the last few seasons. But this season, I feel like they did a really good job at highlighting things. Not only did I go for no XLs, but I went a step further. No shadows, no legendaries. We try to make this as accessible as possible while still providing some results. And so we're going to be going with an extremely overused, and I mean overused because I'm pretty sure that every content creator has made at least 15 different videos using this exact or close to this core. Now, that's not to be a problem because Empoleon Dragon cores are ridiculous in this season, and that's just how things are at the moment. That's how the meta's shaped up. But it's a very well-known core at this point. Dragonite, as far as your team members go, I prefer Shadow on both of these Pokemon if you have the option. I like the extra damage, especially in the Ultra League, where there's a lot of bulk, to be honest, and I like to be able to do a little bit more damage. And then same with Empoleon as well. I prefer the Shadow on that if you have the option to. But in this case, we didn't use it. I'm just going to try to highlight as well that the Pokemon that we're using here, Dragonite, recently got access to Thunder Punch, which was also something that I just kind of wanted to try. And so to round out this team on the safe swap, we wanted something that would be able to have a lot of neutral play, be able to draw out some Empoleon counters like Fighters, for example, or maybe other like Steel's Jellicent is another one as well. Lapras having the Ice Beam legacy move here. You need Elite TM for that if you want to use it. But it's very safe in this meta, very bulky, and kind of helps to balance out this team in a way that while it's still double water in the back, you still have a very strong and flexible Pokemon in Lapras that beats a lot of the hard counters that it has when it has a shield advantage. So I've talked and yapped long enough. Let's get into the games here because that's what you're here for, I'm sure, aside from the team. I appreciate y'all for being here, by the way. We get a steelix in the first game, and I am like kind of sweating a little bit here. I'm going to be fully transparent. I went 10 and 10 in 4 sets with this team, and I'm not going to lie to you. I think that most of those losses were skill issues. So, like, I don't know what it is, but I've lost my touch with one-turn moves, and I just cannot time them for the life of me. I also threw the superpower here way too late, not knowing the counts or expecting this opponent to have a breaking swipe Steelix. Now that I've done some damage, I'm going to swap into my Lapras here and look to try and see if I can't land a Sparkling Aria, or at least threaten one and have a lot of energy. Opponent goes for the Psychic Fangs, and they're going to drop in an Armored Mewtwo, which has Dynamic Punch. Its pacing has gotten better this season. I do get to throw my move on good timing there, which I'm just as surprised as you are at this point about. We're going to go for another one. I was like, I'm always like throwing one too many. That's my problem, is I'm trying to do the right amount. I'm even sometimes counting the little ticks of energy that go up, but I just seem to be one off a lot of the times, and I let whole incinerates through and it loses me games, but you know, normal stuff. I'm going to go for the Thunder Punch because it's not resisted here, trying to get as much Dragon Breath damage in as I can before I throw. But the Mewtwo lives it because we don't have a Shadow Dragonite. This is what I felt. Like, this is the pain I felt with the, like, team as a whole, is that there were a lot of matchups that normally you should be expecting to come away with or win that you lost with, like the opponent having like no HP, and they just get to that last second charge move or something like that, right? Like, that's why I feel like the Shadow Dragonite and Empoleon would be better for this team. However, Lapras, I actually prefer it as a non-Shadow, not because I don't have a Shadow, because I definitely don't. I actually don't have a single Shadow Lapras on my account. I have missed it every time. Now I'm just waiting for it to come back into Shadow Raids so I can hopefully get some, because, yeah, I realized I don't have any. I also don't have a Shadow Raikou, which I really wanted to run in this Ultra League. It looked like a lot of fun, but I don't have a Shadow, and, like, that's a Pokemon that, like, I'm always going to build a Shadow with that. Now the opponent's got a Togekiss. They try to do a peekaboo play with the Armored Mewtwo. We're going to be going for the extra farm here. I always know that I can farm up to 4 in that situation, or to the back-to-back. The opponent's going to take 1/2 of their health bar, and with a couple of Metal Sounds extra here, I'm hoping that this does just enough, because it did show that it did just under half. We're able to take them with that Hydro Cannon and take the game. Well played to the opponent. Also, I have been losing to, like, every Togekiss, dude. Like, this team is not, like, you would think that it's okay, but it's not. Like, Empoleon specifically is a fraud against that flying thing, okay? It works when it works, but, like, it's just, if you're behind by one fast move, the Togekiss makes that really uncomfortable. Opponent's got a corviknight here in the next game. Dragonite's happy to stay in on this. They're not going to really do any damage with these sand attacks, so the only damage that they really have is in their charge attacks. And what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be going for the Thunder Punch here. Got 2 of them off. Going to try to get this thing low. The opponent, I'm hoping, is just an air cutter here. That felt a little quick for the payback, but they're going to go for the air cutter here. Again, we're not in no danger of being taken out by sand attacks. We are able to get the full farm down, and I'm looking to immediately pivot into my Lapras, and the opponent has an Empoleon in the back. And even though Empoleon is a very hard wall to Lapras and its energy, Empoleon does not have the same bulk level that Lapras does, and so these moves will start to add up within short period of time. Opponent's not going to shield it either, and it's really dangerous for them to take any more damage at this point. I know I have absolutely no fast move pressure into this team, but I would like to be able to see if I can't get a shield. I do have to shield up my Lapras here. I am identifying that my Lapras is my main win condition, and here I swap into my Empoleon, not to try to like catch a move here, but I'm actually trying to draw out their Nidoqueen so that I can pull both shields off of this thing with my Hydro Cannons. You remember I stashed a move in the on the Dragonite, and so as soon as I get both these shields, I now have a way to take out the opponent's Empoleon with a superpower if I have one, or a Thunder Punch, depending. The opponent going to go for the Poison Fang here, and we would actually just about, I think, have gotten, no, actually maybe not. It was hard to see on the screen here, but I think if I remember correctly, back when I was playing the game, I wasn't going to live the second one, so I was really happy that they did that. And then they swap and they catch the double resisted Ice Beam onto their Empoleon. I'm going to swap, oh no. Let me finish my thought. I broke myself up in the game. So what I'm thinking of doing here, and I'm going to pause it before it happens, right? I'm going to build back up to the Ice Beam. The opponent gets to a Drill Peck. It's not going to knock out. I don't shield. I'm going to bring in my Dragonite as soon as I get that Ice Beam loaded, save the shield for it for later, and then bring in Dragonite. Now that I have the Thunder Punch loaded, I could have gone for Superpower. I should have as well. The opponent's going to get 2 Mud Slaps. If I'd gone for Superpower, maybe it was only 1. But we have the Ice Beam locked and loaded. Hopefully this is enough. I know that Nidoqueen's a bit bulkier in the Ultra League, but not going to be able to withstand an Ice Beam. An Ice Beam does do slightly more damage. Ice Beam does slightly more damage when they're both neutral than Sparkling Aria. It just obviously costs a little bit more. We got a positive matchup in this next game against a Greninja, and the opponent's going to swap into a Sceptile. And it's at this point that I'm applauding my opponent because they've thwarted me of any ability to do anything with my backline. However, they do go ahead and take the superpower, maybe trying to call that Thunder Punch. I'm going to go ahead and shield here because I'm expecting they have Dragon Claw, but no, they have Breaking Swipe. And when they do that, I'm going to come in with my Empoleon and start loading up on energy. I'm going to have to take what is most likely a Leaf Blade here. The opponent does have that Leaf Blade. They're going to be going for it. Now, my attack is... the attack debuff is thankfully thwarted because we swapped out the Dragonite, but I was not really in the mood to take that, and the opponent makes a baffling play, at least to me. They want to resist the metal sounds, but I have so much energy, I'm going to be able to rip both Hydro Cannons into the Skeledirge, and I should also be able to make it to a third Hydro Cannon if I shield the next move, which I'm certainly thinking about doing at this point. We're going to be going for the, well, I was going to try to go for 4 and then the move here, but the opponent makes the swap to try and catch, and as soon as they do that, I'm going to load up some energy and look to make a catch of my own onto my Dragonite. Dragonite being up a shield here kind of just mauls the opponent, I'm sorry to say. But they do get the pacing advantage and an attack boost to get a Night Slash and another attack boost. So now I have to go for the Thunder Punch and hope this knocks out, because if it doesn't, I might have a bad time. The opponent does get taken out by the Thunder Punch. In comes the Skeledirge. We do have the Hydro Cannon ready to go on the Empoleon, and Lapras is still completely healthy. The opponent not really having much place to go here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a couple Dragon Breaths and swap as soon as I see the Incinerate animation, but soon enough into the Incinerate. Mind you, it's 5 turns. If I swap on, for example, turn 3 or 4, there's a chance that I might take the Incinerate damage before I can get a move. So I want to go for like 1 Dragon Breath. As soon as I see that Incinerate animation, I can swap and go for the charge move before the damage registers, because if you're not familiar, there's on a 5-turn move, the damage from it will register on the 4th turn normally, and so just got to make sure that we time the swap correctly. Thankfully we did. We get that move off and we take the game. Next game, we got a positive lead here, Typhlosion, but it's not a shadow, and I'm kind of surprised. Most Typhlosions I see are usually shadows. Now, the opponent going to go straight for the Thunder Punch here. No messing around, no overfarm, and honestly, I don't blame them. That's really no reason to go for 3 Incinerates here if you're running Thunder Punch, and this is where I do it, man. I thought I counted 4 Dragon Breaths. I know it's not. And I threw, and I let a whole Incinerate through, and I'm just like, all right, well, now what? So I shield up the Dragonite, trying to correct my mistake here. I'm going to go for about 8 or 9 Dragon Breaths at this point because I no longer trust myself. I'm just going to try to go on 8 if I can. And then go for the Thunder Punch. The opponent does shield here, and then they're going to bring in a XehrFelrose. And yeah, there's a slightly loaded Typhlosion in the back. They have an XehrFelrose. And XehrFelrose knows usually Trailblaze and Brutal Swing. They're going to go for the Trailblaze. I really can't afford to shield this, and so I'm going to be trying to go for another Aria here, hoping the opponent, maybe they just let this go. Maybe they just let me have it here. We're going to go for the Aria. The opponent does shield, and they have so much energy because of this farm down. I tried to see if I could get in and like get a superpower off or something to be able to interrupt the flow of the opponent right there, but I just didn't have enough HP. I know I didn't have enough HP, but I didn't have enough energy to get to a move. I could completely forgot how much energy I had in the moment while I was playing that game. That's just why that happened. So next game, though, looking to redeem myself after a bit of a blunder here. Thunder Punch is going to be super effective into the Corviknight. The opponent going to go straight into this Drapion, and honestly, I'm going to go for the superpower here, knock that thing down. The opponent actually going to go ahead and shield as well, which is also nice. We could still go into our Empoleon here, and thankfully, we do survive 2 crunches if there's no debuff in play. That's one benefit of using a non-shadow Empoleon, is that you can survive 2 shadow crunches if there's no debuffs involved from Drapion. Now, they're going to go for the Hydro Cannon here. I'm going to go ahead and no-shield this move as well. I recognize the opponent can go for an Aqua Tail if they have it on the 4th poison. See, but the opponent's actually going to bring in the Corviknight just in time, too, because I actually cannot get out in time. My switch clock was not up. I'm going to go for the Thunder Punch here. The opponent loading up for that payback. They are going to be able to get there. I think that was a CMP tie. That Thunder Punch goes off, and the opponent, yep, we did CMP into the opponent, likely throwing the payback here. I'm going to go ahead and shield. It's just an air cutter, and I'm seething as I get baited because they also get the attack boost, which now makes me feel like if this is an air cutter, it's fine. I'm going to go ahead and call it as the payback, and I call it incorrectly once again. And now I'm in shambles. The opponent, however, bringing back in the Drapion, and I can farm down unless they have Aqua Tail. But this is only an Aqua Tail because it was only 4 Poison Stings. That is going to be resisted. We're going to get the full farm down here, and I have to. I think at this point I'm just going to mash Thunder Punch in case the opponent's Corviknight comes in, and it does. We're going to go for the Thunder Punch here. Try to get the knockout. The opponent barely hangs on. And I'm hoping this is just an air cutter. This should not knock out if it is. And if it is, we also can get a farm down here if the opponent doesn't have the extra energy. But I'm going to bring in the Lapras just to make sure we get a nice Psywave head start here. And the opponent has a Feraligatr. And even though they're up a shield, the problem here for them is that the Psywaves are really adding up here. And I only need about, I think, 3 Sparkling Arias. Their damage is only coming through from their Hydro Cannons or Ice Beams if they have it. Or if they have Crunch, I'm in trouble. But if the opponent's not running Crunch, then we just win the game because we can survive multiple Hydro Cannons here, and we have enough HP to be able to go for Psywave down, I believe. If they can't have 3 moves at this point, essentially. They have to go for 2, then they have to go for enough farm to get to another one, which they don't have the HP for, and that is a good game. All right, getting into the next battle. Dragonite on the lead versus that Giratina. If Giratina's got Dragon Breath, we're in trouble. But if it's Shadow Claw, we're okay. And, of course, they have Dragon Breath. And the opponent's going to save switch into a Walrus. Blast from the past. Haven't seen this in a minute. And I do stay in kind of like dumbfounded, to be honest. But also because I'm like really not sure what to bring in. I don't really have any moves that damage this thing. I don't want to bring in Empoleon to have to play the baiting and Earthquake game. So I just decide to bring in Lapras and shield the first move. We're double resisting the Powder Snow. So the only damage that this Walrein can do to us here is through the Earthquake that it knows. And we're just going to start chipping away at it with the Psywaves and Sparkling Arias. That's how I've chosen to deal with this Walrein. Felt like the right thing to do for me. And so their opponent does go for the Earthquake. I get to see also how much damage it does now, and because they just went for that Earthquake, I can fully Psywave this down before they can get to another. I know this is just an Icicle Spear, and knowing that like the team comps that we're seeing, Giratina, there could be an Empoleon in the back. See what the opponent brings in. They do decide to come in with the Giratina, so it might not be an Empoleon, because Empoleon probably would have come in to absorb this energy. So Ice Beam's going to connect, and then I can go for another Ice Beam here, but the opponent, my opponent soaked the energy on the Giratina and then brought in their Empoleon because they wanted to try and make a play here. I'm going to go ahead and swap into my own Empoleon because all of their energy is going to be resisted here. And I should be able to go for 2 Hydro Cannons and get a shield off the opponent unless they want to let their Empoleon go here. The problem is that I am also at the same shield count as my opponent, and they're ahead on energy, which makes this a little bit more difficult. So I'm hoping to use that HP disparity that I created earlier to my advantage. However, I also now see how much damage the Hydro Cannon is going to do, and the opponent makes a really nice swap to catch on the Giratina, and once again, leaves me in a spot where my timer almost wasn't up. I almost would have had a bad time, but I'm going to be going for a attempted farm down here, and since they throw this energy, I can get this farm somewhere else, and I'm going to go ahead and save my shield for the Dragonite here. All I need to do is get to a charge move with the Dragonite. As long as the opponent can't get to 2, we're in good shape. Going to go ahead and shield this first move. If they have 2 moves, then it's GG's. At this point, I have lost track of their energy, and this is me while I was playing these games. But we are able to get to the move here, thankfully, and I wasn't too far off. I think they were like 1 more away from the move, but good game. All right, getting into the next battle here. Dragonite going to be seeing a heliolisk, and I mean, whoa! This sucks. It really does. I'm going to go for a Thunder Punch bait. I'm like, surely the opponent respects a superpower, right? Right? Wrong. The opponent no shielding. Also, they have Parabolic Charge. I would have expected them to shield that every day of the week, and it's just unfortunate that they were able to make such a nice call. I am going to be able to go for the superpower here, but again, I count incorrectly, and it's 4 Dragon Breaths. They get a full Volt Switch in, and now they're going to start shielding. The opponent going to go ahead and go for a charge move here. They're going to be able to farm me down. Otherwise, I'm just going to let this go. There's really no use for this at this point. I'm going to try to see if I can make something happen with my Lapras. The opponent's got a double buffed attack, or defense, I'm sorry. Double buffed defense stat. It's probably going to go for another Parabolic Charge. I'm hopeful to try and farm this down here. I'd rather take the super effective damage on my Lapras because it's got far more bulk, and I'm going to hope that maybe I can sweep with my Penguin. But in comes an Electros, and suddenly that that dream is dashed, and I throw it out the window, and except this is probably a triple electric team, and I'm hosed. So Empoleon's going to come in, the opponent farming up to moves here. I don't know if they were trying to go for the double up or not, but unfortunately for them, that means that I'm going to be able to save the shield, and the Hydro Cannon does do enough from this range. And the opponent has a Venusaur in the back. I lose this game if they bait me with a Sludge. I'm not taking the chance. I'm shielding. The opponent going to full send the Frenzy Plant, opening up the door for me to double up on Drill Pecks, and 2 will knock out. And I'm also pretty sure that Empoleon wins the CMP tie against the Venusaur, even if they did have a move, which they do not at this point. This Frenzy Plant is 6 to the first 2 and then 5 to the third, and the opponent getting outpaced by the Empoleon, and that's going to be a good game. Well played. Next game up, we got Dragonite floating above the Zygarde on the ground. Speaking of ground, here we go. All right, gonna go straight into the Lapras. I faced a Zygarde previously in these sets, and it didn't go so well when I stayed in and went for a superpower. So I'm trying a different approach this time. I also realize how incredibly weak to Belly Bolt my team is. My goodness, Dragonite might not be the play in the Open Ultra League if you're afraid of Belly Bolt. We have no actual electric resists here, and that kind of makes it tough. But Lapras is here to bait it out just in case. Again, if you don't have the Dragonite, you could use your favorite dragon. You really could use any of them. Regidrago, Kingdra, even if you wanted to. Really, any of the good dragons from this season that you like. If you want to run Zygarde, you could do that too. I would not recommend the Kyurem, though, in this particular team, just because of the fact that you're already got Steel and Ice in the back. Probably not good to be triple weak to fighting, although there's really not a lot of them, but it would be also very uncomfortable against Steels. However, Togekiss comes in, and from prior experience, I do know that I live in Aura Sphere with the non-Shadow Empoleon. That's another slight benefit to running the non-Shadow Empoleon. However, I also can't really one-shot this thing. Actually, wait, yeah, I can. I can't farm it as much is what I'm trying to get at here. The fast moves don't do as much damage, and so you don't have as much farm ability as in this matchup. Now, I'm seeing how much damage these Dragon Tails are do, but I miscount. I forget that it's only 4 to the crunch on Zygarde now, and I have to shield up that crunch. That's just unfortunate, man, because I was really trying not to have to do that. But opponent's going to have their Zygarde tank all this Hydro Cannon damage. I'm going to have to go for these Hydro Cannons on good timing, make sure I'm not giving my opponent an inch as far as energy disparity here. And I'm going to go for this Hydro Cannon. I'm going to look to make a swap into my Dragonite, trying to get to a move, but the opponent going to be able to get to one first, and the crunch is going to hurt. And the Dragon Tails are really what's going to hurt. Now, the opponent brings in their Togekiss. I'm immediately going to go for this Thunder Punch. Maybe I should have farmed up a little bit more. I don't know, but we're going to be able to get a little bit more Dragon Breath action in there. And I'm trying to go for the farm down, but unfortunately, the Zygarde with 1 Dragon Breath's worth of HP gets the farm down, and they have a move ready to go. We're going to go down in this game. That was a really close one. Good game to the opponent. I don't like losing to zygardes, man. And yes, I did put most of my wins in here because I didn't want to... I didn't feel like it was worth me trying to force my skill issue games to be part of a video because I already felt bad enough about it as it was. So yes, I'm glorifying the performance of the team a little bit, but I was honest. I said I went 10-10 with it. But like the wins I had were great. Like I feel like at least 5 or 6 of the games that I lost were completely because I wasn't throwing my moves correctly on good timing with the 1-turn fast moves. And so I'm like, that's not the team's fault. That's my fault. But I'm going to feature the games in which the team was doing good work. And that's why I'm featuring the 9-1 runs here like I am. But we're going to be farming down with the Empoleon here. And then in comes Giratina. This thing is one of my favorite old school Ultra League Pokemon for like factions formats and stuff. This thing was a lot of fun when the, you know, the bulky Giratina really wasn't allowed in a format. And it's always fun to use. Opponent going to be taking this Drill Peck, and then no, they're going to be shielding that Drill Peck and then getting the farm down here. And now I'm going to come in with my Dragonite. The opponent likely has Dragon Pulse, and I'm not taking a chance on that. No, I'm not. They have Ominous Wind, and now I feel like a fool because now they're going to be able to go for a Shadow Ball. I'm just going to go ahead and call it at this point, man. I'm going to see if I can't let Lapras finish the game. The Shadow Ball does a ton of damage. The opponent swaps in the Empoleon, and I'm able to react quick enough. They were trying to go for the farm down. They're going to get Thunder Punch to the face, and now Lapras comes in and gets to do a lot of work here. Realistically, with the Psy Waves, we could probably knock this out with some Psy Waves plus an Aria, but I'm going to be going for the Arias pretty early here just to see if I can't get my opponent to maybe no-shield it. The Drill Pecks are going to start adding up, but I still have a shield, and I don't really feel like I need to use it yet. The opponent trying to over-farm for a couple of moves, and we're going to be able to get this move off before they can get to theirs. Going to be able to knock out the opponent nearly, but the Psy Wave after takes them out, and they concede the game. Well played. Next game, we got Dragonite on the lead versus a Guzzlord. This is not great because they outpace us so severely to that brutal swing. But I can't really bring anything in here. I'm going to go for a superpower, and the opponent goes for a catch, and it's like I didn't even go for the Thunder Punch. I went for... Is that a Primarina? It's a Primarina, man. Who plays Primarina in the Ultra League? I never see this thing. I mean, if it's what you have, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. It's just one of those Pokemon that because it's a Charmer, it gets the bad rep for being toxic. I also recognize that Charm's not as toxic as it used to be. Gets energy a little bit quicker, so I do need to throw some energy here. I go for an Undercharge to try and get extra farm so that I can really threaten this Guzzlord with some Drill Pecks. Going to be going for the charge move here. Drill Peck going to connect. Opponent going to have to go for a move right away, and they do if they don't want me to get to this charge move. I'm actually going to save the Empoleon a bit. The opponent doesn't have a ton of energy at this point, so I'll be able to threaten them with another Drill Peck and maybe see if I can't get that shield back. I'm really not fond of the idea of bringing in my Lapras here. The opponent does bring in a Feraligatr. I'm going to go for an early Drill Peck to do some chip damage or get a shield. Lapras is going to do fine here. I usually don't see crunch on the Gators. The opponent lets that go, and now we're in the driver's seat, so to speak, as we can just simply start spamming out these Arias. The opponent's kind of forced to shield here. We save our shield really for the Dragonite to make sure that it does have the ability to get rid of the Guzzlord if needed. It's still healthy enough to be able to hopefully do so, especially with Lapras taking up the mantle of just throwing all these moves here. The opponent has a choice to make. Are they going to try to rely on the Guzzlord? Are they going to try to rely on the Feraligatr? They shield the Feraligatr. The opponent brings the Guzzlord back in, and if this isn't a Dragon Claw, it's not going to be enough. Opponent goes for the brutal swing here, and I'm swapping straight into my Dragonite to get this farm down. The opponent does not get to a charge move, and we're going to be able to Dragon Breath down likely, or get the... Thunder Punch off at the very least here. The opponent going for a move. It's just the resisted Hydro Cannon. We're barely able to get to the Thunder Punch thanks to that new pacing on Dragon Breath. And Dragonite's going to be able to get the final shield here. And then we just have an Aria on the Lapras. Should have gone for the Ice Beam. Truthfully, I should have gone for the Ice Beam because it does more damage. But we are going to end up being able to Psy Wave down, so thankfully it doesn't come to bite me in the rear, and we take that game. This team was really solid. Yes, I ended with a 2-3, made it to rank 19. The first set was a genuine 4-1. It wasn't like a 3-2, 2-3. No, it had 1-4-1, 3-2-3s, and it was a good team. I feel like most of it was pilot error. This could have been a solid 15-5 run, I think, with the games that I just kind of lost to myself. But let me know in the comments if you like these accessible teams and stuff. Like, I try to do these when I can. As someone who has an extensive Ultra League XL roster, it's very difficult for me to, you know, maybe sometimes realize that not everybody has that roster, man. I also realized, I think just now, that the entire display group has been down in the wrong spot. Oh, well, you just saw me fix it live. Very nice. All right. Well, anyway, thank you guys as always for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.